Rochester this week meeting with supporters. I was able to sit down with U.S. Representative Jim Hagedorn. There's a lot going on in Washington, obviously, but immigration is by far a top priority. Let's talk about the issue at the border, how things are and have changed just in, what, 2 months?
Well, you're right. Things have changed quite a bit in just the last couple of months. President Trump had done a good job securing America's borders and protecting our country from illegal immigration. He had a policy where people that wanted to make asylum claims to come to America had to do it and remain in Mexico or make the asylum claims from a country that offered first, safe haven. And that was really, it did a lot. It was very impressive in the way that he was defending the country. Unfortunately, President Biden has rescinded those agreements. He's reversed everything and basically invited people to come to the southern border. And now we're catching them, releasing them into the interior. I just saw where President Biden's administration is paying upwards of $100 million to house illegal aliens all across the country. And it's a really dangerous thing for them to come and make that journey. I think President Trump's policy was much better.
So moving forward, as we look at policy and things are being considered a crisis more so than probably any time in history, do you see a solution where things can be fixed? And do you see lawmakers being able to come to some kind of an agreement?
Well, I'd like to. I think the solution is the track that we were on during the Trump administration. We're building the wall. We're having more security down there, having more merit-based immigration, ending the catch and release, trying to get away from sanctuary city type policies, and then having people who wanted to come to America and claim asylum do it from outside our country, and then those orders could be adjudicated, and people wouldn't have to be at the border with this crisis type situation. But I don't see President Biden and the Democrats doing that. For the most part, they've subscribed to policies that are mostly open borders. They want massive migration to the United States and kind of overwhelming the system. At least that's what we're seeing so far. And it's sad. I mean, our country is really a generous country. Over 1 million people a year are invited to come to the United States through legal immigration, and we honor that, and we welcome folks who come here legally. But illegal immigration, that needs to be stopped. We need to have the rule of law, in my view.
When I talk to people who had to go through all of the legal hoops to become a legal citizen, being from another country, asking them if they get frustrated to see some of this, easy access, as conservatives would call it, under the Biden administration. Some of them are frustrated, others are fine with it. Does it surprise you that people who have gone through the process, which is not easy, say it's fine to have more open borders?
Well, I do find that surprising. I would think that people that went through the process, and it can be very bureaucratic, and we probably need to clean that up for folks to get here a little bit more easily through the legal process. I think they would understand that going through it legally, becoming a good citizen, that's really good for our country. It's good for everybody who is a citizen of the United States. And when people can just kind of show up, that creates a lot of problems and hardships, especially for taxpayers. And then, of course, people who are working and they have that competition versus their jobs, and that can dumb down the wages, and that's not a good thing either. And we've seen issues with crime, and I'm not talking about any types of, generally people, but when you have folks that are here illegally, unlawfully, and they're in a tough spot, sometimes they do criminal activity. And a lot of what's going on with the people that are coming to the United States now, it's through the cartels, it's through the gangs, it's through the criminal enterprises that are acting and serving as coyotes to bring them here. And that is a very dangerous journey that people make. And there are lots of unfortunate things are happening to those folks, which is why the policy, again, of letting them claim asylum from outside the United States was a much more safe and humane policy.
The kids that are showing up at our borders, how they are they being lumped in with adults? They're trying to be kept separate. There's more kids now than ever before. Why is that? Do you think drug cartels are using the kids?
Oh, sure. And as a matter of fact, the word has been sent out, and that makes it easier for people to enter the United States, particularly the way President Biden has relaxed a lot of these rules that President Trump had put in order. Our laws need to be upgraded, and over the last 4 years with President Trump, frankly, the Democrats in Congress did not want to upgrade those laws on asylum and things like that. So minor children that show up at the border have different rights in order to stay and enter the United States. And sometimes when you talk about separating families, it was the minor children would be able to stay and the adults would have to go back to their home country. And so we just felt like the right thing to do is to keep the families together, but keep them in their home country, let them apply, and if they qualify, bring them to America. If not, they need to stay there. It's for their own safety as well.
Was the Trump administration keeping kids in cages?
Well, you know, again, it's a separation thing. I think nothing different than what happened under President Obama and what's happening with President Biden today, unfortunately. It's a tough situation when they show up and there's chaos at the border, which is so sad because it was all calmed down with President Trump.